So everyone, sorry for the usual intro. My guest Ryan has been testifying here for a good, 5-10 minutes, and I forgot to hit the go live button. So instead of my usual intro, I will speed through. Hello, I'm Reverend Odinson. This is my guest Ryan.
Yep.
This is a show where I interview Satanists and find out more about them, and neither of us represent the TST. We are not spokespeople. All of our personal opinions. So why don't we go ahead and have you go right to retelling me a little bit about yourself, and then then we'll go back into the first question. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. I am a 50-year-old husband, father of two. I was born and raised in Green Bay. Due to some life events, I have wandered up further into the North Woods and currently now reside in the Crivets area. Spent 10 years being indoctrinated into the Wells Evangelical Lutheran frame of thought. And I basically just a typical Midwest husband and father, as you could say.
Which not many people would associate with being a Satanist.
Especially
Most
this man.
right, especially. By the way, the area you live, absolutely gorgeous,
Oh, I love it.
beautiful
That's
area.
can't beat it.
So, so we already discussed that you were part of a theistic religion. And so that's usually my first question. So why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about the religion you grew up in?
Okay, I grew up in the Wells Synod of the Lutheran Church, which is probably the more doom, fire and brimstone sect of Lutheran. Definitely Catholic light, uh, dating back to the Writ of Worms, or however you pronounce that in Germany, from Luther's Catechism. Uh,
Yes, Verm.
very, very much forbidden to have free thought outside of what they were trying to ingrain in us. And just found it very uncomfortable and very stifling for personal growth.
That's kind of the double-edged sword of religion in general, right? Like, you get a huge amount of community cohesion out of religion, and you create these more cohesive cultures, but at the same time, you are stifling individuality, you are stifling freedom of thought. Well, I won't say every religion, but when we're talking about the dominant religions that we've had in the West, that's certainly been true.
Yes, I'd agree.
Yeah.
The
I know we were discussing earlier. I was raised Brethren, which is a weird offshoot of Lutheran. It's it's hard to exactly pin down, but like I said before, it's sort of like the non-denominational, Christianity is to, let's say, evangelical Christianity. The Brethren are to the Lutherans. It's a weird church.
As I stated before, they're all weird as far as I'm concerned.
They are. Some get a little weirder than others, but it's definitely we're grading on a scale here.
Right?
Oh, so what ended up actually deconverting you?
You know, I can't really point to one specific event. There were a lot of little events that led up to it, with my questioning of, if there's a God, why is he such an asshole to all these kids? You know,
Fair question, right?
and I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard it, nor will it be the last. But you see all this suffering, you see this, and I'm pretty cut and dry here, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. You see all these evangelicals acting like papist, judgmental assholes,
Mm-hmm.
and they treat, like they say, there's no hate like Christian love, right?
Oh yeah.
And their whole excuse for treating other people like pieces of shit is, well, I don't hate the person, I hate the sin. No,
Right.
no, dude. you're just no, that don't fly. You're just
No.
covering it up. So
Yeah.
then fast forward, and this is going to be a little personal, but it's a
Mhm.
huge part of this story that I typically don't share. But so my oldest son, who would be 39 years ago, committed suicide. Now, growing up in the evangelical Lutheran church, that is the ultimate sin. Nothing but damnation and hellfire, right?
Mhm.
And I'm supposed to accept that this innocent human who was a victim of mental illness is now burning in this proverbial hellfire. No, no, I can't do that. And to this day, I still struggle with that after so many years and so many just mental beatings that this was the case. And it's not. For my own sanity, I had to cast off that bane of Jehovah that they chained me down with and just start opening my mind up even further to this concept of free thought and following my own path, my own ideas. And it was very liberating, albeit still to this day conflicting.
Well, I mean, fear of hell is one of those things that a lot of atheists report years after deconversion, still suffering from. Like, it is one of the most, in my opinion, it is one of the most profound forms of child abuse that exists, to indoctrinate your children to believe, to fear this repercussion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I really identify with what you're saying. One of the I remember when I was first really questioning, one of the things that really needled at me was, a lot of the Christian apologists, they like to use, the way you parent. You know what I mean? And you can't just let your kids get away with everything. That's why punishment has to exist. But
Mhm.
wait a minute. Would I infinitely torture my child for disobedience? That that's not a loving parent. You know what I mean? That was one of the first things that really started needling in my skull.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure. And it's hard
it is.
getting getting past that. That it's a challenge, and I struggle with it daily. To be honest,
Oh.
you
Um,
know,
yeah, how
conflict.
how long ago did you deconvert, would you say?
I would say complete deconversion happened. I'd say about 8 9 years ago. Shortly
Yeah.
after my son's passing. I
I'm
would.
very sorry about that, by the way. That is
I
awful, man.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm a
Um,
father. I haven't lost any children, but I can't imagine that kind of pain, and that you're still strong and going. That says a lot about your character.
you have two choices in life. You can either roll over and die, or you can fight and survive.
It's true. True.
I'm I've got another child, I've got friends, I've got a family and a life, and wouldn't do anybody any justice if I rolled over.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
So are you an out Satanist? Like, do your friends, your family know, everyone?
Absolutely. I'm pretty I wear that on my sleeve.
Yeah.
You know, and,
I hear
and
that.
and my disdain for organized religion in general, or
Mhm.
creating the mental conflict within me.
Yeah.
I don't hide that.
Would you I'm just curious, would you, like myself, consider yourself like an anti-theist, not just an atheist?
Yes, absolutely. I
Nice.
think that there is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I won't fill in too many of the blanks for myself, because I know my wife wants to actually get me down for one of these and interview me. So I'll save some of that. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
fantastic.
I'm right there with you. Um, So, is your family and are your families and friends, or at least most of them, supportive, or do you have any naysayers? What do you deal with?
Um, the only I have a couple naysayers. My mom, and I love her to death. She's my
Hmm.
mom.
Yeah.
And she's very much a Lutheran, very, very much an evangelical, and it's just a topic I don't broach with her because I don't need to. And everybody else
Yeah.
in my family and my friend circle are either indifferent to it because, well, it's my own personal journey,
Right.
or they're supportive of it, and through their indifference, I find support because it's not you can't do that.
Right. Right.
It's like,
All
yeah,
right.
cool. You
Fair.
do you, bud. So,
So when did you first kind of become aware of Satanism, as we know it now?
as we know it now,
Yeah.
um,
Because I'm sure your first awareness of Satanism was like Hollywood movies and ridiculous over the top, like evangelical depictions of what
oh
Satanism
yeah,
is. Yeah.
the satanic panic.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But what was like your first introduction to, modern Satanism? We'll call it.
You know, it's a good question, and one I'm not entirely sure I can answer. I,
All right, that's
I,
fair.
I mean, through my searching or learning or growth, I just ultimately discovered the Satanic Temple
Mhm.
and kind of researched into that more and dug further into it. And it's like, you know what? This this shoe is very comfortable. It- and I think
Mhm.
that's kind of where I kind of discovered modern Satanism currently. You know,
Yeah.
and, and just the openness, the not scary red guy in fire. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it kind of fits. I guess I know that's not really a great answer to the question, but
No, but it's a truth seeking answer, right? It's a real answer. So that would be, the next question is usually what brought you to Satanism, but it would just be you kind of were curious, you looked in, and the shoe fit, basically.
yeah, exactly. Because I knew I wasn't a Christian.
Hmm.
You know, I knew I didn't believe that there was a God or
Yeah.
some magical being, shaking his voodoo stick over. It's just I knew that.
Yeah.
And to me, I think the most natural progression was a curiosity that led me to where I'm at.
Yeah. I mean, truth seeking leading you to where you're at. That's a noble pursuit. Um, so do you have any sort of supernatural beliefs? Like, is there anything supernatural you maybe believe in, or maybe you remain open to?
You know, I I don't know if I would consider this really supernatural, but I believe in energy.
Okay.
Like you meet somebody and it's like, yeah, you kind of sketch, throws off
Okay.
that bad kind of vibe.
Hmm.
I don't know if that be supernatural or not, but I believe there's good energy and bad energy that kind of ebbs and flows in the grand
Okay.
you
G-
um
Gotcha.
not necessarily a ghost or you, you,
Right.
you, you know it's I'm
You're
other
saying you're picking up on something, you just don't know what it is.
yeah, exactly.
I get you. I get you.
As far as supernatural, not so much.
So how would you describe, modern Satanism? Like, what is Satanism to you now?
Satanism to me now is, as recovering Evan Lutheran, is
You go to all your
obvious
meetings.
is obviously not this demonic figure that sits on our shoulder and is telling us to do bad things. I
Mhm,
think Satanism now, I think, would be, in my personal opinion, is free thought,
mhm,
is uh, not allowing this narrow-minded constraints that society and Christianity in general try reining people in under, but venturing out, learning, living, going not necessarily with the grain, just
mhm.
learning.
It's interesting. The philosopher, you say venturing out. The philosopher Robert Greene Ingersoll. He compared free thought versus sort of religious dogma as a ship, right? And he said that most people are content to tie themselves to the safe harbor of faith and never think, never venture, and just rot on the pier. But he would rather, die in a in a grand storm, exploring the ocean of free thought. And I thought that was a really, really beautiful sort of way to think about free thought and faith.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So how would you say sort of Satanism, kind of maybe the tenets in general, or just sort of the overall, I would say, ethical framework or moral framework. How would you say being a Satanist sort of affects your everyday life?
Honestly, I think it makes me less judgmental and more open to change, more open to individuals who I was raised to shun, more
Mm,
open to just everything in general. Whether and my feeling on organized religion is what it is, but it also makes me more open to learning more about the different organized religions in an effort to understand why they believe the way they believe.
right.
Not, you know, and I think that my ability to not hold myself in that lane
Mm.
because of my beliefs in Satanism make me able to see the world in a broader view.
I can see that. It kind of keeps your mind open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It has to, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it, you know, we're supposed, and I've mentioned it a dozen times and I'll probably mention it a dozen more because I firmly believe this is when you grow up in religion, you're pigeonholed. And if in order to find the path that we took, you have to think outside of that pigeonhole.
Yeah.
There's no other option. There's no other way to find this path than to think outside of that constraint that they give you.
I mean, even if you're not brought up religious, right? If you're living in the West, you're brought up in an intensely Judeo-Christian culture. It's
Oh yeah.
enshrined everywhere, in spite of what our laws might say. I mean, it is ingrained in the very fabric of our culture. I mean, even kind of non-religious cultural holidays. Because let's face it, Christmas has become this sort of non-religious, just American holiday. We celebrate consumerism essentially.
Right.
But like the Christian overtones are absolutely everywhere. So yeah, you have to be able to escape that sort of that sort of upbringing, that sort of cultural programming and bombardment, to be able to find your way to something like Satanism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Do you ever, just out of curiosity, like kind of out in public, do you wear like satanic symbols and things like that?
I don't know if you can see this, but I'm wearing my Venom.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
I mean, if that's not an answer to the question, I don't know what
Fair
is.
enough.
But the answer is yes.
So, do you have any thoughts on kind of the more ritual side of Satanism? You know, rituals, meditation, mindfulness, that kind of thing.
um, Honestly, I don't have a whole lot of experience in the ritualistic aspect of Satanism.
Hmm.
I don't believe I have enough experience to really voice an opinion on.
That's completely fair. And I wish more people would be that honest when it came to a great deal of many topics. You know what I mean?
It- my memory is not good enough to try bullshitting somebody.
So do you have any thoughts on kind of the more, I think most people will be more aware of this side of Satanism, the sort of activist side, you know, putting up statues of Baphomet to protest, you know, let's say the Ten Commandments being in a courthouse or something like that.
Hmm. What was the question?
Do you have any specific thoughts on that sort of side of Satanism?
Oh, I love it. That's the thing that pushed me into joining TST Wisconsin. Actually, was an action very similar with the trees over at the Railroad Museum.
Yeah. So if people don't know, I think it was in 2023, was it?
Yeah, I believe so.
I believe so. In 2023,
2023.
TST Wisconsin, which is the congregation we're both part of, put up a holiday display. It's one of those places that anyone can go put up a holiday display. You just have to, you know, you have to file your petition, get it approved, and all that stuff. But you know, some religious organizations, they put up little holiday displays and things like that. And so TSC Wisconsin put up their holiday display, and it made national news. There were particularly a
Great.
few Catholic priests doing the "Will please somebody think of the children" routine on Fox News, and
Norbertines, that was beautiful.
oh, it was so
All
good.
groups that should shut up about that.
I know, of all the groups. So yeah, that they made some I wasn't part of TSC Wisconsin back then, but man did they make some waves, and I am very here for it.
Yeah, I anything that makes people uncomfortable.
Yep,
Because
yep.
if it makes a person uncomfortable, it's going to make them think. And if it makes them think,
Mhm.
who knows?
Absolutely. So my normal question is, which side of that, you know, kind of Satanism, you know, duality do you identify more with? But I think we have our answer.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely a let's push. Let's let's be an activist. Let's
Yeah, yeah.
open mind, broaden
Yeah.
horizons.
So, do you have a favored tenant within the?
Absolutely.
All right, what's your favorite tenant?
My is I believe it is the fourth, the right to offend and be offended.
Oh, yeah. Um, uh, uh, I should be able to quote this. It's oh my
You have
God,
to look
why
for it.
my brain is absolutely freezing up, and it shouldn't. That is ridiculous. Okay, okay, okay.
Pull it up here
Let
real
me get
quick.
it. Let me get it. I've
It
got it
is
right here on my desktop.
okay.
Yes. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. That is a beautiful tenet. Now, why is that one in particular your favorite?
Because it tells me I can't judge other people, and it tells people that they shouldn't judge me for
Hmm.
my beliefs, and I better not be a dick to other people for what they believe. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if and just because it bothers me or I'm offended by it doesn't make it wrong. And just
Yes.
because I offend somebody else doesn't make me wrong. I think that's kind of
Mhm.
the crux of how I feel about things.
See, my favorite part of that tenet is, you think about it for how many ages? How many ages was it death, essentially, to criticize the religion and power? And what I love about that tenet is it reminds us that the system working as intended when we talk about free speech, when we talk about free expression, isn't that, hey, don't offend people. It isn't, you have to, you have to respect every belief. It's more like I can criticize your beliefs and tell you why you're full of crap. You can criticize my beliefs, tell me why I'm full of crap. And we should both respect that you're allowed to say that and I'm allowed to say that. And at the end of the day, we don't even have to hate each other. You know?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That
Yeah.
you verbalized it so much better than I did there, but
That's fine. So this is actually one of my favorite questions. So when you think of Satan or Lucifer, right? Who is that character to you?
Satan or Lucifer, that character?
Hmm.
Aside from, uh, I mean, the if I were to say a physical character, I kind of view it as a cartoonish type of a character.
Hmm.
Now, for if you want to get into a metaphorical character, in my mind, that is Saint or Lucifer would be a free thought, a free freedom.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because in my mind, and in my humble, is we are taught that those freedoms are bad. It's bad to have that free thought. It's
Hmm.
bad to enjoy the pleasures of life.
Oh yeah, right?
And I like pleasure. And I don't know many people that don't. The only people I can think of that really openly accept those evil pleasures are individuals such as us, Satanists, that are able to say, yeah, it's okay to feel good. It's okay. And I think, in my mind, that's the metaphorical Lucifer, Satan,
Yeah.
growing up. That in my vision, anyways.
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone has their own sort of vision, but I definitely see that aspect. I mean, even if you just go outside religion, you get that kind of, there is this deep-seated sort of root in our culture that tells us to seeking pleasure is sort of inherently bad somehow. And then when you get into actual religious culture, that's where it gets really bad, where they tell you that your entire life should be spent forsaking pleasure so that you can reap all the benefits, rewards, and pleasures of the afterlife. So I recently, I was talking to somebody else, and I had this sort of quote that I came up with, and it's, if the biggest trick Lucifer ever played was convincing the humanity that he didn't exist, the biggest trick God ever played was fooling people into wasting their life in preparation to die.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
I live every day like it's going to be my last day, and I'm
Hell
as
yeah.
they say, man. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out on two wheels, screaming, "Holy this is great!"
I fucking love that. Um, so do you have a piece of media that would be like to you? It doesn't have to specifically be Satanist. It doesn't have to be written by a Satanist or Satanism or anything like that. But to you encapsulates what it is to be Satanist or what satanic ideals are to you. It could be a book, it could be a movie, anything.
I've thought about this question a lot
Hmm.
since you sent me the list, and Every time I think about it, it changes that answer. But I think one of the things that really, really recently kind of struck home was I read the book Surviving Crystal Fascism, I believe is the name of it. I,
Okay.
I I could tell you here in a second. In fact, I looked it up before the interview because and of course, it was in one brain cell, and it immediately that brain cell decided to abort mission, and it left. It left.
Fair. I have
uh,
my listen. My memory is like a steel trap filled with rusty holes. In fact, it's mostly a steel sieve. Yeah, it's a steel
yeah,
sieve.
yeah. It was, actually, it's called Fascism by Carolyn Barker
Okay.
Baker. Carolyn Baker.
Carolyn Baker. Christopher.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
and I found it very comforting in
Mhm.
Satanism, even though it's not anything to do with it. It's just kind of breaking that chain of what the stigma, the mental damage that was done through all those years.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of growth out of that and a lot of healing out of that. And I find it a very valuable book.
That's awesome. That's very awesome. I'll have to put that on my reading list.
I recommend it. Highly recommended.
So if there was one thing about Satanism that you would want the outside world to understand, right? What would that be?
We're not bad.
Fair enough.
Uh,
Simple.
we're not this evil going to sacrifice your neighbor's virgin daughter while drinking upon the blood of goats and feasting on somebody's cat. We're everyday people who want the best for everybody, and
Yeah.
not this evil, dark lurking figure in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
So
I'd love to see.
where do you see this religious movement going into the future? And where would you like to see it go?
You know, that's another very good. They were all very good questions, but that's another one that I've thought. As far as I'd love to see it grow.
Hmm.
Obviously, because I think it's important that people understand this religion and this movement. It kind of goes hand in hand in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to see domination. I'd love to because I believe that you know it, it, with the activist side of things, world would be a whole lot better place with a lot more of us.
Amen to that.
And
Yeah.
I'd like to see it grow. I'd like to see it become a very competitive religion, for lack of a better, to fight the organized religions that are hurting so many across this world.
I like your thoughts. So where do you actually see it going? Do you see it going there? Is that what you think is
Not
going
in
to
my
happen there?
lifetime.
Mm,
Not in my lifetime.
fair.
Uh, I between the political climate that we are in this world right now, and just through the stigma and fear of things, I think there's a long way to go before we see it get there. I think
Yeah.
it'll get there, and I think as we do good things in the name of Satanism, it's people are going to have to admit that it's a good thing. They
I
might
am
not.
seeing a lot of growth, man. I am. I was a little doubtful at first, but I am seeing a lot of growth, and I think some of that growth is sort of a reaction. to what we're seeing, the political climate, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
people
sure.
are kind of like recoiling from and trying to find a place that feels more sane.
I would agree with that,
Right.
but and while I do agree that there's growth happening.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
not like mainstream religion growth, though. No,
no, and are we seeing that growth more because we're more aware of it being who we are,
maybe.
or are we? Yeah, or is it? I don't want to say is it real growth because it is obviously very real growth, but are we more aware of it
Yeah.
because of the positions that we're in?
Very possible. I mean, I will say that since joining TST Wisconsin, I've seen just in my time there pretty big growth in the congregation and how busy and active it's been, which has been encouraging. It really has been encouraging.
And unfortunately, I'm horribly inactive. Uh, and mainly because my bedtime is typically 7 o'clock.
Oh, you get up real early, do you?
Yeah, I get up at 3, so
Ooh, yeah, my wife used to have to get up that early. Now she works nights, which pleases us to no end.
so so some of those 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, the meetings, it's like as much as I want to.
Yeah. Well, you know
And
what? I'll keep that in mind, and maybe we can find some things for you to participate in. Um, s- but before we start kind of wrapping up here, do you have any interesting like projects, or maybe you want to recommend some reading material, something you want to shout out, anything like that?
well, I definitely want to shout out that book, Crystal Fascism by Mir. There's that brain cell again. Just went cooked. Ms. Baker.
Right, right.
um,
I will put a link to that book after the interview is over into in the description so people can find it.
yeah, that'd be awesome. And honestly, one of the biggest things that I shout out and I promote is if you have the ability to take a QPR class, which is question, persuade, refer. I think it's a very important thing, and there's a QPR Institute that is CPR for mental health. It
Hmm,
is very good at teaching people how to recognize and how to help a suicidal individual and how to get the help they need.
that is an
And
amazing skill. So this is basically like what, like a several day training course? What is it?
few hours.
Few hours. Okay.
And oftentimes, if you go search the QPR Institute,
Hmm.
there's links, and oftentimes it's a few dollars, $5 to $10, to get a group of individuals together and throw a donation to the instructor or the gatekeeper instructor,
Hmm.
and they will provide you with a gatekeeper's class and with knowledge and information that's needed to help individuals in crisis.
That's really freaking rad. I've never heard of that. You just gave me something to look up and be very interested in. Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for taking an interest in that because I used to instruct that class, and I have since refrained from doing that
Hmm.
because it's a lot to teach that class,
Hmm.
and it saves lives. It really truly does save lives.
That is very freaking cool. Well, I will go search that up, and I will also put what links I can find in the description of that at the end of this video as well. So after this is done live, give it 10, 20 minutes if you're listening live right now, and just go ahead and refresh, and you should be able to get those links or come back or whatever. Um, well, no, really, thank you for doing this.
You're welcome.
It's always awesome when I can talk to somebody who teaches me something new or points me in the direction to learn something new. Because we're never done learning, right? Never
Oh,
done learning.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And,
And
I
Thank
hope,
you, audience. Thank you for giving us some of your valuable time. Ryan, thank you for giving us some of your very valuable time.
and likewise to you and
Yeah.
those in Cyberland there.
And audience, until next time, hail Satan and hail yourself.